America faces a quiet financial crisis. Over 15 million seniors live at or below the federal poverty level, with the average Social Security benefit in 2024 at just $1,907 and rents often exceeding $1,500. Many older Americans living alone are left with nearly nothing. However, previous generations developed practical budgeting tricks that could change this reality. Here are 10 forgotten poor man budgeting tricks seniors should bring back today. Leave a like, subscribe, and share. Let's get started. Trick number 1, the weekly cash allowance system. Before digital banking, people managed money with cash. At the start of each week, withdraw the exact amount budgeted and divide it into envelopes for categories like groceries and transport. When an envelope is empty, spending stops. Research shows that physical cash activates the pain of paying, causing people to spend significantly less than they do with cards. This system provides absolute clarity and prevents end-of-month surprises. Trick number 2, the senior discount audit. Treating discounts as a serious task can save thousands. A systematic senior discount audit helps identify unused benefits. Programs like the National Council on Aging's Benefits Checkup find an average of $5,000 annually in unclaimed aid. From prescription drug assistance and SNAP to property tax exemptions and utility aid (LIHIAP), these benefits are money left on the table. Pursue them with discipline and without embarrassment. Trick number 3, the protein stretching method. Older generations made meat a flavoring rather than the centerpiece. Buying a whole chicken is cheaper than parts. One bird can provide meat for 2 meals while the bones create stock for soups. Supplementing with dried beans, lentils, and eggs, which are nutritionally dense and cost-effective, can slash meat expenditures by 30% to 50% without sacrificing protein. Trick number 4, the library as financial infrastructure. Public libraries are vital financial infrastructure. Beyond free books, movies, and internet, they offer tools, digital streaming, and expertise. With the average household spending $3,500 annually on entertainment, utilizing the library can eliminate much of this cost. Librarians can also help navigate complex benefit programs and tax preparation at no charge. Trick number 5, the utility bill reduction discipline. Utilities are a variable expense where behavior dictates cost. Heating and cooling account for 43% of bills. Wearing warmer clothes and lowering the thermostat can save hundreds. Similarly, washing laundry in cold water and running dishwashers only when full reduces water heating costs, 18% of bills. These habits can reduce annual utility expenditures by 15% to 30%. Trick number 6, the Neighborhood Mutual Aid Compact. One of the most powerful financial tools available to seniors living alone is one that requires no money at all. The deliberate building of a local mutual aid network with neighbors who can exchange services, share resources, and reduce each other's expenses through cooperation. Previous generations did this naturally, partly because residential neighborhoods had higher social density, and partly because the need was more obvious and immediate. Modern seniors living alone, particularly in suburban environments, often lack these networks and pay cash for services that a cooperative neighbor relationship could provide for free. The economic research on neighborly exchange and mutual aid is clear and consistent. A 2019 study published in the American Journal of Community Psychology found that seniors with strong local social networks had measurably lower monthly expenses than socially isolated seniors with equivalent incomes, because they were more likely to share resources, exchange services, and access informal help rather than purchasing services from commercial providers. The practical applications are numerous. A neighbor who drives can provide transportation in exchange for home-cooked meals from a senior who cooks well. A senior who gardens can exchange produce with a neighbor who can help with minor home repairs. Sharing a warehouse club membership between 2 or 3 seniors who split the annual fee and coordinate bulk purchases reduces the per-person cost significantly. Building these relationships is itself a financial strategy with measurable returns. Leave a like, subscribe, and share. Trick number 7, the medication cost reduction system. For millions of seniors living alone on fixed incomes, prescription medication costs represent one of the most significant and least controllable budget items, and the generation that lived with less developed a systematic approach to reducing those costs that many modern seniors have not discovered. The tools available for reducing prescription costs are substantial and widely underused. GoodRx, which operates as a free discount program available to anyone regardless of insurance status, provides coupons that can reduce the cost of many generic medications by 70 to 80% below retail pharmacy prices, according to their published data. The Medicare Extra Help Program, also known as the Low-Income Subsidy, provides significant assistance with Part D prescription costs for eligible seniors, but the Social Security Administration estimates that approximately 2 million eligible seniors are not enrolled. The $35 monthly cap on insulin costs for Medicare beneficiaries established by the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 has provided significant relief for diabetic seniors. But awareness of this cap remains incomplete among the senior population. Requesting generic substitutions for brand-name medications where medically appropriate can reduce drug costs by 80 to 85%, according to FDA data on generic drug pricing. Pill splitting, when prescribed tablets are scored and approved for splitting by the prescribing physician, can effectively halve the cost of certain medications. Previous generations approached medication costs with the same systematic problem-solving they applied to every other budget challenge. Identify every available option, use every available tool, and never accept the first price as the only price. Trick number 8, the seasonal eating calendar. Older generations did not eat strawberries in January or butternut squash in June, not because those foods were unavailable, but because buying produce out of season was understood as an obvious and unnecessary waste of money. The seasonal eating discipline, which previous generations practiced as a matter of economic common sense, remains one of the most straightforward ways to reduce food costs significantly. The price difference between in-season and out-of-season produce is substantial and consistent. According to USDA agricultural marketing data, the retail price of tomatoes in January is typically 2 to 3 times higher than in August when they are at peak domestic production. The same pattern holds for virtually every fruit and vegetable. In-season produce costs less, contains more nutrients because it has not traveled as far or been stored as long, and tastes significantly better than out-of-season alternatives. For seniors living alone who are cooking for one, seasonal eating has an additional practical advantage. In-season produce is typically available at lower prices in smaller quantities at farmers' markets and produce stands, reducing the risk of waste from buying more than one person can use before spoilage. Older generations also understood how to preserve seasonal abundance through canning, freezing, and drying, extending the financial benefit of in-season pricing throughout the year. Even without preservation, simply committing to buying only what is in season locally can reduce a senior's annual produce expenditure by 20 to 30%. Trick number 9, the no-waste shopping list system. Seniors living alone face a particular food waste challenge that previous generations addressed with disciplined shopping system that modern single-person households have largely abandoned. When you are cooking for one, standard grocery package sizes are frequently too large for a single person to consume before spoilage, resulting in food waste that represents direct financial loss. Previous generations solved this problem with a shopping system built entirely around planned use. Nothing was purchased without a specific planned use for every portion, and the planned use of every ingredient was mapped before the shopping list was written. This approach, which modern meal planning advocates have rediscovered and rebranded, was practiced as pure economic necessity by older generations who could not afford to throw away food under any circumstances. The USDA estimates that single-person households have the highest rate of food waste as a percentage of food purchased of any household type, wasting approximately 35% of the food they buy. At current grocery prices, this means the average senior living alone throws away between $1,200 and $1,800 worth of food every year. The no-waste shopping list system addresses this directly. Plan every meal for the week before shopping. Buy only what is needed for those specific meals in the quantities that will be used completely. And build the meal plan around ingredients that can be used across multiple meals to reduce the risk of partial spoilage. One bunch of celery purchased for soup on Monday should also appear in a salad on Wednesday and a stir-fry on Friday before the week is out. Trick number 10, the make-do mentality. The final and perhaps most important budgeting trick that previous generations practiced is the hardest to quantify, but the easiest to understand: the make-do mentality, which is the deeply held belief that the correct response to a perceived need is first to ask whether what you already have can serve that need before spending any money at all. This mentality, which was universal among generations that had less and spent more carefully, has been almost completely displaced in modern consumer culture by the automatic assumption that a perceived need equals a purchase. The make-do mentality asks a different set of questions. Before buying a new kitchen tool, can an existing tool do the job adequately? Before buying new clothing, can existing clothing be altered, repaired, or repurposed to meet the need? Before paying for a service, can the task be accomplished independently with available resources? Before buying a new appliance, can the existing one be repaired? Research on consumer decision-making published in the Journal of Marketing Research has documented that the automatic equation of need with purchase is a culturally learned behavior, not an economic necessity, and that households that systematically interrupt this automatic response with deliberate evaluation spend significantly less without reporting lower satisfaction with their quality of life. For seniors on fixed incomes, where every dollar of expenditure must be justified against a limited and often shrinking budget, the make-do mentality is not a sacrifice. It is a superpower. The generation that practiced it without thinking about it had something that no financial advisor, no app, and no investment strategy can replicate: the habit of asking whether they truly needed to spend before they spent. The 15 million seniors living at or below the poverty line in America today are not in financial difficulty because they failed to work hard enough or save enough. Many of them saved throughout their working lives only to see those savings eroded by the 2008 financial crisis, by inflation, by the astronomical rise in healthcare costs that has outpaced general inflation consistently for decades, and by the collapse of defined benefit pension plans that were replaced with defined contribution plans that transferred investment risk from employers to employees. The financial pressure facing seniors living alone today is real, structural, and serious. But within that reality, there is a set of tools, habits, and principles that a previous generation used to survive and even build meaningful lives on incomes that would seem impossibly small by today's standards. None of these tricks require a smartphone, a financial advisor, or a large income. They require attention, discipline, and the willingness to treat money as something that must be managed deliberately rather than spent automatically. The seniors who bring these forgotten tricks back today will not become wealthy, but they will be measurably, meaningfully, and consistently better off than they would be without them. And in the financial reality that millions of older Americans are living right now, that difference matters more than words can say. Leave a like, subscribe, and share. See you next time.